There is a place on our planet, a scar on the world map, where the boundary between reality and the unimaginable seems to blur. We call it by a name that has sown fear for generations: the Bermuda Triangle. From the distant 15th century, when the great explorer Christopher Columbus recorded in his journal mysterious fireballs and a compass that suddenly went mad, this sea has proven it follows no rules known to man. As centuries passed, its reputation only grew darker. Ships vanishing without a trace. Squadrons of military aircraft dissolving into thin air without a single distress call. The ocean fell silent, leaving only haunting questions and screams that were never heard. For years, we have been consumed by the question, what happened to them? But perhaps that is the wrong question. Perhaps we have been looking in the wrong place, because the greatest mystery of the Bermuda Triangle may not lie in what has disappeared on the surface, but in what has been found in the cold, deep abyss. Buried truths, artifacts that challenge all laws of physics and history, discoveries that could completely shatter humanity's understanding of its own origins. Imagine, at a depth of 6,500 feet, where darkness reigns absolute, scientists have discovered not one, but two colossal pyramids, with surfaces as smooth as crystal, 3 times the size of the Great Pyramid of Giza. They are not eroded by time, not colonized by marine life. And more frighteningly, on their peaks are openings that create enormous whirlpools, an ancient energy machine that seems to be still active. But as soon as this discovery was announced, the military intervened, sealing all the data. Why? What are they hiding at the bottom of the ocean? The story does not end there. From outer space, legendary NASA astronaut Gordon Cooper detected over 100 anomalies in this region. The secret map he left behind led an explorer to something that was not a shipwreck, but an unnatural structure with 15 giant metal arms estimated to have been there for thousands of years. A legacy from the stars, or the remnant of a lost civilization known only through legend. The simple explanations of methane gas or human error suddenly become meaningless in the face of this extraordinary evidence. This is no longer a story of maritime accidents. This is a forbidden file, a mystery whose solution may not lie in physics textbooks, but in the most sacred of epics or in classified documents never before released. Join mystery as we unseal this forbidden file. We will dive together into the abyss, not just to search for lost ships, but to confront a truth that could change everything. Because the biggest question may not be, what happened? But who is stopping us from knowing the truth? Before the name Bermuda Triangle was etched onto the map of fears, before the tales of vanishing squadrons and ghost ships haunted our imagination, there was a first warning. A whisper from history, recorded not by a modern investigator, but by the very man who redrew the world map. That warning lay dormant for 500 years in the pages of Christopher Columbus's logbook. This is not just a logbook. It can be considered humanity's first X-file on this region of the sea. Now, we will reopen those yellowed pages, not as historians, but as investigators, to find the first clue to one of the planet's greatest mysteries. The year is 1492. It has been over a month since Columbus's expedition left the sight of land. Hope is dwindling, replaced by fear and a simmering mutiny among the sailors. In this endless ocean, the only thing connecting them to the familiar world, the lifeline that holds their sanity, is the compass, a simple but sacred instrument, always faithfully pointing north, promising a way back home. But then, On a fateful September night, as the ship entered the waters we would later call the Sargasso Sea, on the western edge of the Bermuda Triangle, the unthinkable happened. That lifeline snapped. Try to put yourself in their shoes. You are a 15th century sailor, believing the world is governed by God's immutable laws. And then, before your eyes, the compass needle, a symbol of order and certainty, begins to dance erratically. It no longer points to the familiar North Star. It oscillates wildly, as if controlled by some invisible force, as if the very laws of creation are collapsing right here in the middle of the ocean. Panic erupted. This was not a technical malfunction. To them, it was a demonic omen, a curse from the sea. Columbus, a master navigator, had to use all his wits to calm the crew, explaining that it was due to the shifting of the North Star, not a faulty compass. A clever lie. But he himself recorded in his private journal his extreme confusion and anxiety. Today, science has an explanation for this phenomenon: magnetic declination. It is the natural difference between the Earth's true north, the geographic North Pole, and the direction the compass needle points to, the magnetic North Pole. As Columbus and his crew sailed west, they entered an area where the magnetic declination changed significantly, causing the compass needle to deviate noticeably. For the first time in European maritime history, men had traveled far enough to witness this phenomenon. It is a plausible, neat, and entirely scientific explanation. But is it that simple? The question we, who come after, must ask is, could another anomalous factor in the Bermuda Triangle have amplified this natural phenomenon to an extreme degree? Today, countless reports from modern pilots and captains speak of their electronic equipment, GPS systems, and compasses suddenly failing or giving nonsensical readings when entering these waters. Could the dancing of Columbus's ancient compass have been the first, most primitive manifestation of a mysterious energy field? A space-time distortion that we still cannot decipher? The unease subsided, but this sea had not yet let them go. A few weeks later, on the night of October 11th, 1492, one night before the history of the world would change forever, two more events occurred, challenging all conventional logic. First, Columbus and his crew witnessed a terrifying sight. His log records. A great flame of fire fell from the sky into the sea. Imagine that. In the pitch-black night, a massive trail of fire, not a small shooting star, but a brilliant mass of light, tore across the sky and plunged into the water in the distance. No sound, no explosion, just a blinding light that then vanished into the ocean. Astronomers suggest this could have been a bolide meteor, an extremely large and bright type of meteor that burns up upon entering the atmosphere. A perfectly acceptable explanation. But remember, this was not an isolated event. It happened in the very area where their compasses had gone haywire. And then, just a few hours later, around 10 p.m., Columbus himself saw something even stranger. He described it as a small light, like a wax candle that rose and fell. He called another sailor to see it, and this man also confirmed seeing it. The light was not steady. It did not look like a campfire on a distant island, nor the light from another ship. It appeared, disappeared, then reappeared, moving strangely, as if there was a life, a consciousness behind it. This is the crucial point. Columbus concluded it might be a sign of land, but this light was seen before the lookout shouted, "Land ho!" was there, hovering over the water in the dark, a ghostly candle in the void. What was it? Was it the bioluminescence of some marine organism? Or the fires of the indigenous people on the island of San Salvador they were about to land on? Or was it something else entirely? Something not of this earth, observing the strangers who had just entered its domain. The torches of the natives, bioluminescence, or something else entirely observing them from the abyss. Share your answer with us in the comments. A rebellious compass, a fireball from the heavens, a ghostly candle from the abyss. 3 anomalous events occurring in rapid succession in a narrow geographical area. If only one had happened, we could call it a coincidence. But all 3? That is no longer a coincidence. It is a pattern, a sign. Columbus's records are not just an interesting footnote in history. They are the testimony of the first witness. He had unwittingly sailed his ship through a gateway, an anomalous zone of the planet, and had honestly recorded what he saw. He could not explain them, and perhaps even we, 500 years later, with all our technology and knowledge, cannot either. Because centuries later, in this very same sky, 5 U.S. Navy bombers, on a training mission codenamed Flight 19, would take off and fly straight into the heart of that silence. They would leave behind one last, bewildered message over the radio before vanishing forever, opening the bloodiest and most mysterious chapter in the history of the Bermuda Triangle. And that is the story we will explore in the next chapter. Columbus's warning faded into oblivion, dismissed as the strange jottings of an explorer in a superstitious age. But the ocean has a long memory. The whispers Columbus heard in 1492, over the centuries, turned into a roar of silence. A silence forged from the steel of torn ships and the ashes of aircraft erased from the sky. The 20th century, with its explosion of technology and trade, became the main stage where the Bermuda Triangle truly revealed its predatory nature. If we examine the hundreds of disappearances in this region as a criminal file, a deadly modus operandi emerges. These are not ordinary accidents. The hallmark of the Bermuda Triangle is its suddenness and totality. The vessels do not just sink or crash, they are obliterated. No distress signal, no debris, no oil slick. One moment, they are there, communicating normally over the radio. Next, they are nothing but eternal silence. Let us start with one of the first and largest victims of the 20th century, the USS Cyclops. This was no flimsy wooden boat. The Cyclops was a Proteus-class collier of the United States Navy, a floating mountain of steel over 540 feet long, longer than a modern football field. Its mission was to supply the American fleet during World War I, a vital link in the war effort. In March 1918, this behemoth, along with 306 souls, departed from Barbados, carrying a cargo of over 10,000 tons of manganese ore. The last anyone heard of it was as it entered the waters of the Triangle. The weather conditions at the time were recorded as perfect. The ship was equipped with the most advanced radio system of its era, capable of sending signals hundreds of miles. Yet not a single SOS was transmitted. It simply vanished, as if lifted from the sea by a giant hand. The largest-scale search in U.S. Navy history up to that point was launched. But they found nothing. Not a piece of wood, not a life preserver, not a single body. U.S. President Woodrow Wilson later lamented, "Only God and the sea know what happened to the great ship." The disappearance of the Cyclops set a terrifying precedent. But there is another scenario even more chilling than complete disappearance. Ghost ships. Ships found drifting aimlessly, intact, but completely empty. The case of the Carroll A Deering in January 1921 is a classic example. This majestic five-masted schooner was found run aground at Diamond Shoals, North Carolina, in a strangely perfect condition. Its sails were still set, as if waiting for a wind. When the rescue team boarded the ship, they entered a scene frozen in time. Food was still being prepared in the galley. The crew's personal belongings were still in their cabins. However, the ship's log, navigational equipment, important papers, and 2 lifeboats were missing. The only thing left was a starving 6-toed cat. What could have caused the entire crew to hastily abandon a perfectly safe ship in a matter of minutes? What did they see? Something so terrible that jumping into flimsy lifeboats and facing the wrath of the Atlantic was a better option. What extreme panic could make seasoned sailors act so irrationally? Leave your speculations in the comments. As humanity conquered the skies, the mystery of the Bermuda Triangle ascended with it. In 2 consecutive years, 1948 and 1949, 2 luxury passenger aircraft of British South American Airways, the Star Tiger and the Star Ariel, vanished without a trace. Both were Avro Tudor 4s, the pride of British aviation, flown by veteran pilots. Both disappeared in good weather, and both sent their final radio messages completely normal, reporting all was well just minutes before falling silent forever. The official investigation by the British Ministry of Civil Aviation had to conclude with a helpless and haunting statement, admitting they could find no cause. The cause of these accidents must forever remain a mystery. There is no evidence to suggest either technical failure or pilot error. Some external cause must be considered, but its nature we cannot determine. Some external cause that cannot be determined. This was an official admission from one of the world's most reputable aviation investigation bodies. They were saying there is something out there, something not in physics textbooks or technical manuals, that is hunting planes in the Bermuda sky. But all those incidents were merely a prelude to a tragedy that would forever define the legend of this sea. December 5th, 1945. 5 Grumman TBM Avenger torpedo bombers of the U.S. Navy, codenamed Flight 19, took off from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, for a routine navigation training flight. 14 airmen, all well-trained soldiers. The sky was clear. The mission was only a few hours long, but they never returned. What makes Flight 19 the most horrifying disappearance is not the silence, but what was recorded over the radio. We have their final conversations, a recording of bewilderment, disorientation, and inexplicable fear. The flight leader, Lieutenant Charles Taylor, a pilot with over 2,500 hours of flight experience, suddenly reported to the control tower, "We cannot see land. We seem to be off course." The tower asked him to identify his position. Taylor's response stunned everyone at the base. "Both my compasses are out. I'm trying to find Fort Lauderdale. I'm sure I'm over the Keys, but I don't know how far down." How could a veteran pilot mistake the Gulf of Mexico for the Atlantic Ocean? And how could all the compasses on all 5 planes fail at the same time? But the most chilling transmission, reported by other pilots in the squadron, was a statement from Taylor. "Everything looks strange. Even the ocean doesn't look as it should." The ocean doesn't look as it should. A man who had spent thousands of hours flying over the sea said that. What had they flown into? The green electronic fog that other witnesses have reported. A space-time anomaly. In the final hours, Taylor rejected all reasonable instructions from the control tower and led his entire squadron deeper into the Atlantic until their fuel ran out and the radio went dead. The tragedy was not over. Shortly after, a Martin Mariner seaplane, a flying boat known as one of the safest rescue vehicles, with 13 crew members, was dispatched to search for Flight 19. 20 minutes after takeoff, this rescue plane also vanished. A ship in the area reported seeing a ball of fire in the air, but a massive search afterward found not a single piece of debris from the Martin Mariner. An explosion powerful enough to destroy such a large aircraft should have left tons of wreckage and an oil slick miles long. But there was nothing. As if the explosion was just a magic trick to cover up another disappearance. In one afternoon, 27 men and 6 modern aircraft were swallowed by the ocean. From the USS Cyclops to Flight 19, a terrifying picture has emerged. These are not random accidents. This is a pattern, an invisible predator operating by rules we cannot understand, capable of disabling both the rudimentary technology of the 15th century and the complex machinery of the 20th. So, the final question is, what kind of power could do that? What single natural phenomenon could simultaneously disable compasses, disorient humans, and make massive steel structures vanish without a trace? Perhaps the answer does not lie in the sky or on the sea's surface. Perhaps to find the predator, we must enter its lair, down to the depths where the lost souls rest. Because beneath those angry waves, structures exist, ancient artifacts that challenge all laws of physics and history. In the next chapter, we will go deeper, where the darkness holds many more untold secrets. If the sky above the Bermuda Triangle is a graveyard, what lies beneath the waves, in the eternal darkness where the lost souls rest? For decades, the answer to the mysterious disappearances has always been sought on the surface. In sudden storms, in human error, in atmospheric disturbances. But what if we have all been looking in the wrong place? What if the cause is not a fleeting phenomenon, but something tangible, ancient, and still active, lying dormant thousands of feet below? Our story now shifts from accident files to an even more astonishing realm. Forbidden archaeology. In the late 1970s, a German oceanographer and researcher, Dr. Meyer Verlag, conducted a sonar survey of the seabed in the central region of the Bermuda Triangle. Using the most advanced technology of the time, his team scanned the ocean floor, hoping to map the terrain and search for resources. But what their sonar returned made the entire team hold their breath. They were not natural formations. The sonar signal revealed 2 colossal structures with perfect geometric shapes, rising majestically from the abyss at a depth of nearly 6,500 feet. They were pyramids. Let that sink in for a moment. At a depth where the pressure could crush a military submarine like a soda can, where not a single ray of sunlight has reached for millions of years. 2 man-made architectural structures stood tall. As Dr. Verlag and his colleagues analyzed the data, their astonishment turned to utter disbelief. The structures appeared to be made of a thick, glass-like material or some kind of crystal. Their surfaces were impossibly smooth, reflecting the sonar signal perfectly. In an ocean that constantly erodes and covers everything with a layer of sediment and marine life, these structures remain pristine, without a single crack, without a patch of moss or algae. It was as if they were protected by an invisible force field, defying the laws of time and decay. Their size was even more shocking. According to initial reports, one of these pyramids had a base of up to 980 feet long and was 650 feet high. For comparison, the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, is only about 450 feet high. This means we are talking about an underwater architectural structure 3 times the size of Egypt's greatest wonder. Who or what could build such a thing? But the most terrifying detail was yet to come. These were not dead tombs, silent relics of the past. According to Dr. Verlag, at the top of each pyramid were 2 large holes. Seawater continuously flowed into the first hole and was expelled from the second at an extremely high velocity, creating a massive vortex above. This vortex, according to the hypothesis, was powerful enough to generate violent waves and a thick, unusual fog on the ocean surface. Suddenly, the scattered pieces of the mystery began to fit together. Columbus's spinning compass, the electronic fog reported by pilots, the ships and planes that vanished without a trace. Could they have been victims of an ancient energy machine? A technology far beyond our comprehension, still operating after thousands of years at the bottom of the sea. Could this crystal city be not just a relic, but the predator itself? The story of Dr. Verlag's discovery was quickly shrouded in a veil of secrecy. According to many sources, as soon as this information reached the authorities, the military intervened. All further research was halted. All of Dr. Verlag's data, sonar maps, and records were said to have been confiscated. The area was subsequently placed under military control, making any independent expedition impossible. Why would an archaeological discovery, no matter how great, be considered a matter of national security? Were they afraid that acknowledging the existence of these pyramids would cause global panic? Or did they want to study and exploit the energy technology hidden within them for themselves? Deprived of physical evidence, we are left with only haunting hypotheses. Hypothesis 1. The legacy of Atlantis. Could this be the echo of a lost world? The legendary city of Atlantis, described by Plato as a mighty civilization with advanced technology, was submerged beneath the sea after a great cataclysm. Perhaps these pyramids were their power plants, their energy centers, and the destruction of Atlantis did not completely obliterate them, but merely put them to sleep, occasionally waking up to cause tragedies on the surface. Hypothesis 2. The Earth's energy machine. Some researchers suggest that these are not the work of a single civilization, but part of an ancient global energy network, built to harness and regulate the planet's natural energy. A machine that draws cosmic energy, with the Bermuda Triangle being one of its most active centers. Hypothesis 3. Something else entirely. Perhaps they were not built by humans or any earthly civilization. Perhaps they are an outpost, an observation station, or a relic left behind by visitors from the stars thousands of years ago. A lost civilization, a planetary energy machine, or a legacy from beyond Earth? Which hypothesis do you find most convincing? Let us know your thoughts. The existence of these pyramids, though concealed, remains a nagging question. They offer a physical, tangible explanation for the supernatural phenomena that have haunted the Bermuda Triangle for centuries. They turn wild stories into a terrifying possibility. These crystal pyramids speak of a lost chapter in the history of our own Earth. A story of kings, cities, and technologies we only know through myth. But what if there is another piece of evidence, another piece of this puzzle? Not just about Earth's past, but about our place in the cosmos. What if I told you that a map leading to an even greater secret was drawn not by an oceanographer at the bottom of the sea, but by an astronaut from Earth's orbit? And that map leads not to an ancient city, but to something that looks like a crashed alien spaceship. That is the journey we will explore in the next chapter. A lost earthly civilization, a crystal city at the bottom of the ocean, is enough to shake every historical theory. But what if the mystery is not just our own legacy? What if the evidence also tells of beings, entities beyond our comprehension, from horizons science has never touched? Our next story begins not with an oceanographer, but with one of the legends of the space age, Gordon Cooper. He was not a fringe theorist. He was one of the original 7 Mercury astronauts, a national hero, a man who had flown on the edge of the cosmos and looked down on our planet with a perspective few have had. He was a man of science, of precision, and of courage, and he carried a secret with him to his death. In 1963, during his 22-orbit Mercury Atlas 9 mission, Gordon Cooper was not just conducting scientific experiments. He also had a secret mission assigned to him by the government. Using extremely sensitive long-range detection equipment, he was ordered to look for any nuclear threats, specifically secret Soviet missile sites hidden under the ocean. His equipment was capable of detecting magnetic anomalies, places with unusually large concentrations of metal under the water. Throughout his 34 hours in orbit, Cooper faithfully carried out his mission. But he did not just find nuclear sites. He discovered over 100 other anomalies, mostly concentrated in the Caribbean Sea and off the coast of Florida, right in the heart of the Bermuda Triangle. They were strong, clear signals, indicating that massive metal objects were lying on the seabed. He secretly recorded the coordinates of all of them. After leaving NASA, Cooper spent years compiling these coordinates into a detailed map. To the outside world, it was a priceless treasure map, pointing to hundreds of Spanish shipwrecks laden with gold and jewels. Before he died, he passed this mysterious legacy to his close friend, a seasoned treasure hunter named Miklos. Miklos, believing he held the key to history's greatest treasures, began his journey. And the map did not disappoint. Based on Cooper's markings, he found traces of dozens of sunken ships. The most notable discovery was a massive anchor weighing over 1,100 pounds, identified as being from one of the ships in Christopher Columbus's fleet. The map was real. It was accurate to the detail. But among the hundreds of markings for shipwrecks, there was one coordinate that Gordon Cooper had marked differently, located in a remote area near the Bahamas. He had noted it as an unidentified object. Curious, Miklos and his team went to the area, expecting to find a particularly large shipwreck. But what their sonar displayed looked nothing like any ship. It was too big. Its shape was too bizarre. They decided to dive. At a depth of 300 feet, where sunlight is but a distant memory, the divers used the most advanced equipment to approach the target. And then, in their floodlights, something beyond imagination emerged. Miklos, in a later interview, struggled to find the words to describe it. It was nothing like anything I've ever seen related to shipwreck material. It was too big. It was also something that was completely different from anything that I've seen that was made by nature. What they saw was not a ship. It was a massive vertical cliff rising from the seabed. And from that cliff protruded 15 giant arms, or protrusions, arranged in a deliberate row. Miklos described each of these arms as being the size of a gun on a battleship. The entire structure was covered in a thick layer of coral, indicating it had been there for hundreds, perhaps even thousands, of years. It was completely silent, an ancient giant sleeping in the abyss. Miklos realized immediately this was not the treasure he was looking for. This was something else entirely. And then a memory flashed in his mind. A memory of his astronaut friend. Gordon Cooper was not just a space hero. Throughout his life, he was one of the highest-ranking figures to publicly admit his belief in the existence of aliens and UFOs. He claimed to have personally seen unidentified flying objects as a test pilot at Edwards Air Force Base in the 1950s. He even testified before the United Nations, calling for governments to be transparent about the issue. He always believed, "We are not alone." Miklos suddenly understood. Could Gordon Cooper's map be more than just a treasure map? Could the anomalies he detected from space not always be shipwrecks? Perhaps, while on a secret mission for the government, Gordon Cooper had stumbled upon an even bigger secret, a map of strange objects, possibly extraterrestrial technology, scattered across our ocean floor. And he had disguised it as a treasure map, leaving a legacy, a challenge for a future generation to find the truth. What is that 15-armed object? A piece of a giant mothership that broke apart as it crashed to Earth? An ancient mining machine? Or an abandoned observation post from millennia ago? With the evidence presented, do you think this structure is a strange natural artifact? A work of a lost civilization? Or truly a legacy from the stars? We are facing a staggering possibility. From the crystal pyramids that could be Atlantis, we now have an object with an unnatural structure, found thanks to the guidance of a legendary astronaut who believed in extraterrestrial life. These two discoveries, one from the depths of the Earth, one from the stars, both converge at a single point: the Bermuda Triangle. This evidence is extraordinary, almost unbelievable. It challenges our most fundamental knowledge. But before we completely immerse ourselves in the world of myths and cosmic visitors, reason compels us to pause and ask a question. Does science, with all its logic and rigor, have an explanation for all of this? Are there natural phenomena, however rare and intense, that can still explain the mad compasses, the vanishing ships, and even the reports of pyramids or strange objects? In the final chapter, we will confront the most shocking scientific hypotheses to see if the real killer might be our own planet. We have dived to the seabed, touched the crystal pyramids. We have flown into orbit with an astronaut and his mysterious map. Before us are artifacts that challenge all laws. Now it is time to return to the surface, take a deep breath, and listen to the cold, logical, and absolute voice of science. In the court of reason, all extraordinary evidence must be rigorously examined. Before we can accept the existence of Atlantis or visitors from the cosmos, we must rule out all other possibilities, no matter how mundane. So, what does science say about all of this? First, let us confront the most sensational discoveries. The story of Dr. Meyer Verlag's 2 crystal pyramids, however compelling, lacks the most important thing: verifiable evidence. This discovery was never published in any reputable scientific journal. No sonar data, no images, no samples have ever been presented for the scientific community to analyze. In the world of internet rumors, it has become a legend. But in the archives of the world's leading oceanographic institutions, it does not exist. Geologists suggest it was most likely a mistake, where sonar signals reflected off strangely shaped natural rock formations, or worse, a fabricated story. Similarly, the 15-armed object found by Miklos, though it looks very strange, has not been proven to be an artificial artifact. The ocean floor is a place full of geological surprises. Underwater volcanic eruptions, the formation of columnar basalt, or erosion over millions of years can create structures with astonishing geometric shapes. Until a sample is taken and analyzed to prove it is made of an alloy not found on Earth, it remains just an anomalous rock formation. So what about the disappearances? This is where science presents its most formidable suspects. Suspect number 1, the harsh environment. The Bermuda Triangle is not a placid sea. It is the confluence of extremely complex weather systems. The Gulf Stream. Imagine a massive river, 50 miles wide, flowing at a terrific speed right within the ocean. That is the Gulf Stream. Its current is so strong that it can easily sweep away any debris from an accident hundreds of miles in just a few hours, making searches hopeless. This is the most plausible explanation for the no trace found phenomenon. Extreme weather. This region is notorious for storms that form and dissipate with dizzying speed. But the real killer may be rogue waves. These are not tsunamis. They are vertical walls of water, which can be up to 100 feet high, that appear suddenly even in calm seas. Such a wave can break a giant cargo ship in two in an instant, giving no one a second to send a distress signal. For aircraft, extremely powerful downdrafts can act like an invisible hand, slamming the plane straight into the sea with an irresistible force. Suspect number 2 must be mentioned. The geological monster, methane hydrates. Beneath the ocean floor in the Bermuda Triangle region are vast reserves of methane hydrates, also known as fire ice. Imagine methane gas compressed under immense pressure and frigid temperatures, trapped in a lattice of water crystals. Sometimes, due to an undersea landslide or change in temperature, this fire ice destabilizes and explodes. Millions of cubic meters of methane gas are suddenly released, creating a massive gas eruption. The champagne effect. As these gas bubbles rise to the surface, they suddenly reduce the density of the seawater. Any ship unfortunate enough to be in this water will lose all its Archimedean buoyancy. It will sink straight to the bottom like a stone, so fast that the crew may not even realize what is happening. For low-flying aircraft, this cloud of methane gas can cause engine failure or even explode upon contact with a hot engine. The final and perhaps most credible suspect, human error. This is a not-so-mysterious truth, but is the cause of most accidents in the world. The Bermuda Triangle is one of the busiest maritime and aviation routes in the world. With such a huge traffic volume, accidents are inevitable. For Flight 19, the most widely accepted theory is that Lieutenant Charles Taylor, despite being a skilled pilot, became disoriented. He may have mistaken the Bahamas Islands he saw for the Florida Keys once the initial mistake was made. Stress and stubbornness may have led him to a series of subsequent wrong decisions, leading his entire squadron to their deaths. A human-caused tragedy requiring no supernatural forces. These explanations are powerful. They are logical, supported by scientific evidence, and can account for the majority of the supposedly mysterious incidents. But can they explain everything? Can a rogue wave explain why the entire crew of the Carroll A, Deering, hastily abandoned a perfectly safe ship? Can a methane gas eruption explain the final words of a veteran pilot that the ocean doesn't look as it should? Can human error explain why the compasses on all 5 planes of Flight 19 failed at the same time? And can the Gulf Stream explain why not a single piece of debris from the Martin Mariner seaplane was found after a witnessed explosion? Science has provided answers to individual questions, but it seems powerless to explain the entire pattern, the strange coincidence of anomalous phenomena in a single geographical area. And that is where the real mystery lies. It lies in the gap between what science can explain and what our hearts feel might be the truth. Perhaps the answer is not to choose one over the other, between science and myth. Perhaps both are right. Perhaps there are harsh natural phenomena, and beneath them, there are ancient forces we have never known that occasionally amplify those phenomena to a lethal degree. The mystery of the Bermuda Triangle may not be about finding a single answer. It is about daring to ask the questions that science cannot yet answer. And it reminds us that even in this 21st century, there are still places on this planet, white spots on the map of understanding, where the rules of our world seem no longer to apply. We have listened to the tight arguments, the convincing evidence from the side of science. Rogue waves, methane gas, the Gulf Stream, and the tragic errors of man. Each is a logical piece that can explain a part of the vast and bloody puzzle called the Bermuda Triangle. Science has given us an escape route, a safe path back to the world of familiar laws, where everything can be explained, measured, and predicted. We could have stopped there. The crystal pyramids, the alien spacecraft, the lost civilizations could have been just myths, born of fear and imagination before the endless ocean. But we cannot. Those logical pieces do not fit together. The gaps are too large, too dark, too haunting. And it is in the silence of those gaps that the great questions arise. A methane gas eruption can explain a natural phenomenon, but can it explain 2 pyramids with perfect geometry, surfaces as smooth as crystal, 3 times the size of the Giza Wonder? Can human error explain the final words of a veteran pilot? The ocean doesn't look as it should. A man who had flown thousands of hours over the sea cannot suddenly become so disoriented that he does not recognize the ocean. That statement is a testimony that they had entered a distorted reality. The Gulf Stream can carry away debris, but can it explain why the entire crew of the Carroll A. Deering simultaneously abandoned a safe ship, leaving a meal half-cooked? No. They were fleeing something that existed right on the ship. And the biggest question of all? Why are important discoveries, from Dr. Verlag's pyramids to astronaut Gordon Cooper's map, always covered up, hidden by the military and governments? If it is just rock or fantasy, why hide it? What truth is being protected? The Bermuda Triangle is not just a sea. It is a symbol of the limits of human understanding. A white spot on the map of knowledge. Whether we fly to space or dive to the depths. Humans are still just children on the shore of an undiscovered ocean of truth. The questions it poses are not just about lost ships or planes. They are questions about human history, about the civilizations that existed before us, about our place in the universe, and about truths so large, so shocking, that we are not yet ready to face them. Perhaps the final answer will never come, because the true purpose of the Bermuda Triangle is not to be solved, but to exist as an eternal question, challenging our arrogance and keeping the flame of human curiosity burning bright. When we think we know everything, that is when we truly lose the ability to seek. And so, our journey in the Bermuda Triangle temporarily concludes. We do not leave with a final answer, but with questions even larger than when we began. We have traveled from 500-year-old journal entries, through haunting disappearance files, down to the depths with forbidden relics, and into orbit with a map from the stars. Perhaps the true value of the Bermuda Triangle is not the solution, but its very existence. It is an eternal reminder that this world is larger than what we can measure, and this universe is more complex than what we can comprehend. It forces us to be humble. It forces us to keep searching. What thoughts has this mystery sparked in you? What is the hypothesis, however wild, that made you pause and reflect? Please leave your thoughts in the comments below. We truly want to hear your story. If you, like us, believe that the journey of discovering knowledge is endless and that this world still holds countless wonders waiting to be revealed, then become a part of the mystery community. Click the subscribe button and the bell icon right next to it, so you do not miss any files from our archives. Your like will be a great source of motivation, and a share will invite more companions to join us on this challenging journey. Thank you for joining Mystery. Always remember, the most valuable answer is always found behind the most difficult question.